Hello, Keith. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well indeed. Thank you very much. Yes, another beautiful day and another interesting evening. So I'm
Yeah. So,
looking
are you raring
forward.
to go?
Yes, I've started today. I've had several classes, and luckily, all my students today are interesting. They're different cultures, and I know I'm going to get interest, or going to have, sorry, interesting conversations with them. Um, it's going to continue as an interesting evening.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so enthusiastic, actually.
Yeah.
When we talk about identity, like the main concept in this episode, so have you ever had any nicknames as a child or
Okay.
as an adult?
Yeah, as a child, yes. My nickname was Nelly,
Mm-hmm.
short for Nelson, obviously. But at the time, there was a very popular song called Nelly the Elephant.
Uh-huh.
Um, and, and I'm anything but an elephant.
Yeah.
But again, it was the fashion of the time, if you like, to shorten names.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the same way my son is called Joshua, but everybody calls him Josh.
Josh. Yeah.
It's just easier.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yes.
I suppose if I was going to give you a nickname, I'd call you Ezzy.
Essay. Really good one. Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
that's amazing. And how about an adult? Did
no,
you
no,
get any nicknames? No.
no. I've never had that much of a personality.
Okay. What was most important for your parents?
um, that I was happy. Um,
Hmm.
my, I don't know if I've mentioned it previously, but my father lived by the belief, well, both my parents, that it didn't matter what your job was. You can be a
Hmm.
brain surgeon or a street sweeper. The
Hmm.
important thing is that you
You're happy
enjoy what you're
what you
doing.
are doing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Hmm.
Because so many people, sort of looking back through the eyes of experience, they do jobs they don't like,
Hmm. Hmm.
but they
Yes.
then you start questioning why you're doing it. Are
Hmm.
you doing it for stability? Are you doing
Hmm.
it because you're used to the money you're earning? Or is it because you just can't do anything else?
Do you feel like you are like any of them, like your mother, your father?
Um, I'm like my mother in that I'm a reader. I'm like my father in that I'm a private person. Um, I need to know somebody fairly well to open up to them.
Hmm.
And I think something that other people have commented on is I tend to repress my feelings.
Hmm.
My problems are my problems. I will sort them out.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I don't tend not to share my bad moments with other people. I
Yeah.
tend to keep them to myself.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that was my father's life too.
And how is your son? Like you and unlikes you?
Um, we have the same sense of humor. Um, I think he has a shorter fuse than me. I think he loses his temper more easily,
Hmm.
but um, he loses it and it blows over very quickly. So it's not a long lasting um, episode, if you like. Um, but he's adventurous, he likes the outdoors,
Hmm.
and I can see him doing with my grandson what I did with him.
Hmm.
So it seems that he has inherited. that trait from me. We have an English saying, "The apple doesn't fall far from the tree."
So three. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. And which do you think you have the most of? We can talk about talent, education, persistence,
Mhm.
intelligence,
I
and
think imagination is one. And
how has it helped you in your life?
um, because I've been fairly creative, um, which when I was working as an architect, as a designer, then I've been creative, and I think I use that in my teaching as well. I can usually find, not always, but usually find a good example
Yeah.
that makes it easier for people to understand, especially if it's something a bit strange. Because if you imagine teaching as a straight line and you go through a 30-minute class, okay, you learn something. But if you put a little crazy bit in the middle, the crazy bit is what people are going to remember. I think if anybody looks at their life, they, they, they tend to remember the things that were out of the ordinary rather than the things that they expected.
Yes. Yes. So, like, do you have any special sayings or expressions?
Um, Not really, no. I think I've got a good collection of idioms, but it needs something to spark
Yes.
the idiom. They tend to happen naturally, spontaneously in a conversation. If
Yes.
you sit me down and say, "Give me an idiom," I've no
Yeah.
idea.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
But
Uh-huh.
if it comes in a conversation, then I've it's stored away in the back of my mind, ready for use.
hmm And which one, like, do you believe in it the most?
Um,
The one
I
you
think
use it regularly, or the one like you remember it easily?
okay. It's not an idiom. It's from a song from the Monty Python film,
hmm
The Life of Brian. I don't know if you know it, but it's
Yeah.
always look on the bright side of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are. It affects the way you think, because if you look at the people around you, um, you can either think, well, I could be like them, or I'm more optimistic, so I can see a little bit further.
Yes.
Yeah, it just reminded me of a saying that I remember. It was Isaac Newton, his discovery of gravity.
hmm
And he says, if I can see further than other people, it's because I've been standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
again, that's it came into the conversation. I didn't think of it. It happened.
hmm Yeah. 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 I agree. Actually. Yeah. Yeah. Same here with me. Yeah. So, what
Yeah.
have been the biggest event happened to you during your lifetime?
Um, are you talking personal or
Yeah.
in life in general? Okay.
Uh,
I've been married 3 times.
okay. So, this is the
Yeah.
biggest event
Uh,
during your lifetime.
I think three of the biggest events, yes. I'm still friends with two of my ex-wives.
hmm
Um, one, the third one, I have no idea where she is, so I don't know if we're friends or not now. But I, we, when I've got divorced, we've remained amicable,
Yes.
which
Mhm.
is
Being
important.
friendly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, Particularly last time because we have a son, and we both
hmm
care for our son very much.
hmm
Um, so we have a common interest.
how do you look at this experience? Like
Um,
to been through three
um,
marriages. Yeah.
I think I should look before I leap. There's a proverb for you.
Yeah.
Look before you leap.
To not leave on face, like just to have to
Yeah.
think first.
Yeah. Step back and think. Well, but then I'm a romantic creative, so I think everything's going to work out well. Doesn't always.
Yes.
Yeah. But generally, yeah. My brother and my sister have both been married for 35, 40 years.
Wow.
And I honestly don't know why I'm that different from them.
Yeah. Do you regret any? Like, do you
Not
feel like
really, no.
you were?
No. I learned something from each marriage.
Mhm.
And I think it's reflected in the subsequent marriage, if you like.
Yeah.
Like they say, as you get older, you get wiser. I
Mhm.
like to think that's true.
Yes.
I don't know if
Like
it is or not. I'll let you know when I pass over.
like you start to have like a different interpretation of maturity, like by
Yeah,
time. So yeah, you start to look at things differently. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. Maybe you start making a more real assessment of the
Yes.
future.
Yes.
Um,
Mhm.
but we all make mistakes. Sometimes we learn from our mistakes, and sometimes you
Yeah.
don't. Hence, 3 marriages.
Yes. like the first one, the second, the third. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the best compliment you ever received?
I tend not to receive compliments. One of some of the things that have pleased me the most, students have commented how much they enjoyed the classes, how much they learnt, and not direct compliments, but they are very, from my point of view, sincere compliments, because in a way, I'm being complimented on the way I work.
Mhm. Mhm.
You only have to look at my testimonials.
Yeah.
And if they've enjoyed it, they've learned something, then that's why I'm here.
Mhm.
I, I, I don't say I teach for fun. That sounds very frivolous, but I get a lot of pleasure from teaching. And if I get positive feedback, then that makes me feel good and makes me determined to carry on, because you start feeling you're doing something right if you're getting those sort of comments. Yeah.
So, beside teaching, what kinds of things bring happiness or pleasure to you now or nowadays?
Nowadays, waking up in the morning. Um,
Or
uh,
like how?
yeah, I survived another night. Hooray!
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. You appreciate the simple things as you get older. Well, silly really, but the older I get, the simple things. If frying an egg perfectly, for example, gives me great pleasure. Yeah, it's when something goes the way it's supposed to go, then that gives me pleasure.
Mhm.
Obviously, my grandson, just to see him smile, to get photographs from my son with the photographs just makes me feel good. As we said earlier, that it's the generations continuing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, simple things and being connected to the next generation.
Yeah. Yeah.
they're very important to me.
Mhm, mhm. Actually, I agree. I agree. And even it's not about getting older, maybe about being mature, um,
Right.
or
Please
had
explain
enough
mature.
from this life.
I'm not mature yet.
uh, no, no, no. I mean, like, not just becoming older. So I understand. Yeah, 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 yeah. You're right. So, what the thing you've always wanted, but still you don't have it?
Um, to be honest, I was thinking about that, and there's nothing I want.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm happy with what I've got. I could
Hmm.
always, I could get a television. I don't have a television, but I'm going to watch it for 6 months, a year, and then move on. What do I do with a television?
Hmm.
So there are things I could have, I could use, but there's nothing I need.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
have I have everything I need, so there's nothing I really want.
Hmm.
When I was younger, growing up, um, I always imagined myself driving an amazing fast car. But over time, as I said before, cooking an egg perfectly is equally satisfying.
Yeah, agree, agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, do you feel differently about yourself now from how you felt when you were younger?
Yes, I think always wanted to be liked. Maybe a weakness in my character, but to be liked and to be appreciated for who and what I am.
Hmm.
Now I've come to terms with the idea that I'm me and
Yes.
accept me as I am.
Mhm.
It,
This is actually this is kind of like you've reached the highest point of self acceptance or self
self
um,
awareness,
esteem
maybe.
or self awareness. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
yeah.
I
So
like that.
yeah, I'm happy with what I have. Um, maybe if I was really had to do something, I'd maybe travel more, but then
Yeah.
I'd lose my teaching because
Yes.
you can't establish a regular schedule if you're traveling.
Yes.
And I must admit I like the regular schedule
Mhm.
because I've created it for myself. It suits me. It suits my way of life. So there's nothing I really want to change in my life at the moment.
What has stayed the same about you throughout life?
Um, apart from being slightly different, I
How?
think, well, my sense of humour is something that really hasn't changed. It started when I was growing up in humour battles with my brother and my father. Um, they continued all the way up to my father's dying. I've had the similar competitions with my son and
Wow.
my nephews. It's always there's always a humour competition somewhere in the background,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's not an unhealthy competition. You don't have to win. If
Yes.
you say something that's humorous and somebody else says something that you think is more humorous, fine. You were
Yes.
quicker than I was. There's
Yes.
no bitterness in it. It's not a win or lose
Like a
competition.
win-win.
It's win-win because um, you're bringing out the best in people.
Yeah.
So, sorry, just going back to what gives me most satisfaction is finishing a lesson and knowing that my student has enjoyed it. Hopefully, they've learned something, and that they're looking forward to the next lesson.
Yeah.
That is important to me.
Actually, one of my friends asked me like what the meaning of happiness. I said like two things, like to achieve something, and the next thing is appreciation. So
Yes.
so to feel like that you appreciate it for something you've done, it's really rewarding. And as you
It
said, like
is. Yeah.
like give you that motive to continue.
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
And you're always hoping, even if it was a good class, you're not hoping is perhaps a strong word, but you go to the next class trying to do it better.
Yes, yes.
So,
So the final point, some people they spend their whole life looking for themselves. Do you think that you already have yourself or already knew yourself?
I think so. I know I'm
Like
one
this
of the
is you, this is what you wanted to be?
yes, yeah. As I've said before many times, this is my dream job.
Mhm.
I'm in control of my life.
How about yourself, not about like your job, like
Yeah, um,
yourself?
I'm the laziest person in the world. I'm doing what I do allows me to be lazy, but also it sharpens you
Yes.
because you you think, well, I could have prepared this, and then you've got to think of something on the fly. In other words, just like that. And I think that is, as we were talking about talents before, I think that's where I become creative
Mhm.
when I'm pushed into a corner
Yes.
uh, and you've got to think of something to get out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no, I I I think I know myself well enough to be able to do what I want to do and to do it how I want to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't think, and I don't say I don't think many people. I think there are a lot of people who can't say that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Like
okay,
always like a good time flies. So I wanted just to thank you so much
no,
for your time and
no, it's my
for your
pleasure.
generosity. And yeah, like waiting for another episode.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure I can find something else to say.
Oh, hello, hello.
The answer to your question is beer.
I'm about to read all of them to avoid any mistakes during we are asking you. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.